I'll be starting with blockchain. This is again a very important technology, an emerging technology that is always discussed, and it is, it was put to use in one particular field, but it has various applications, and governments can put this technology to use in a very, very efficient manner. So, obviously, blockchain is important for us. Again, when we see the applications of blockchain technology, you will understand how multidimensional this technology can be. So, here I'll be trying to know how should be our approach in studying these, various technologies. Now, see, blockchain, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, right? So we're going to study all these technologies. Now, here we are going to try to understand the concept. Now, what is blockchain is very important for us to understand. Not necessarily you'll have to write them in answers every time in any kind of question. No. But no matter what the question is, our first task is to understand the technology in very simple words. If you don't understand blockchain technology and I start telling you advantages of blockchain, disadvantages of blockchain, applications of blockchain, it is half cooked, half baked. So we are going to study these technologies in a very simple way. I'm not going to try to make them very technical. In fact, we'll be learning them in such a way that even a layman can understand what blockchain technology is. And that is exactly what is needed for exam, because I always tell students there's one very important thing to remember when it comes to UPSC. What does UPSC wants us to be? It wants us to be jack of all trades and master of none. Right? It wants us to be, all the students, all the aspirants, to be jack of all trades and master of none. What does this mean? You should be knowing everything about, something about everything. That is jack of all trades. Knowing something about everything is jack of all trades. And what is master of none? You don't have to be master of any of these. Because if I study blockchain, many Indian Institute of Technologies, IITs offer a course in biotechnology. This is so big. This technology is so big. There are certificate courses on biotechnology. Now, UPSC does not expect us to be so thorough or so proficient in blockchain, right? It is from a layman's angle that we'll have to understand what blockchain is. Okay, so this applies to all the technologies that we're going to study henceforth. So the first in the chain is the blockchain technology. Okay, I'll first go through the slides regarding blockchain, and then also in a very simple terms try to understand what blockchain technology is all about. Okay, now before I go to the slides, let me introduce this to you so that you're a bit comfortable with this concept of blockchain. Okay, blockchain was first introduced. We'll go through the slides about what it is. But before that, let's discuss. Everyone are aware about cryptocurrencies, right? Everyone has heard about Bitcoin. Everyone has heard about Ethereum, right? So when these cryptocurrencies were invented, to be precise in 2009, now how were we supposed to maintain the transactions of these cryptocurrencies? Because they were anonymous, right? They were not like our traditional currencies. It was supposed to be carried out, these transactions were supposed to be carried out without an intermediary. That was the strongest strength or the benefit of these kind of currencies, that it was without an intermediary. Now what generally happens is, in India, if you have to do any financial transactions, imagine I have to send you some money. What happens is, I go to my account, and ask the bank to transfer certain amount of funds into your account. So who is involved here? It is not me and you only. It is also the bank. But in Bitcoins, it is who? It is I and it is you. There's no intermediary. I can straight away transact with you. I can straight away send funds or Bitcoins to you. And there is no central authority that is controlling these transactions. Now, this is not what happens in a traditional setup. Right? Banks act as an intermediary. Now, there were some shortcomings in this traditional system of carrying out transactions, and so a blockchain came into use or came into picture. Now, if you compare banks, for banks, I would say they are traditional, means of carrying out transactions. No matter how efficient they seem, there are shortcomings in this system. Okay, what are those? If I have to, note a few. Look at the time that these intermediaries take to complete the transaction. If I pay you using a check, because you would say, sir, it is so easy. With a click of some buttons in my phone, I can transfer the money to you. It's not that easy, right? Imagine I have to pay you in the form of check or RTGS or NEFT. What happens then? Is the transaction completed immediately? No, there's a lag. It takes a day or 2 days. If it is to some other bank, it can take more days. NFT, RTGS, it will take 24 hours, 48 hours to be cleared, right? So this is one shortcoming in the traditional system of carrying out transactions. But in blockchain, this is not the case. It will hardly take you 10 minutes to carry out any amount of transactions, right? And these 10 minutes are also by default created to ensure there is no fraud in using these technologies. So this is one benefit of blockchain over the traditional system. The other is how do the banks function? It is from 9 to 5. Not all the banking functions can be accessed sitting at the home. Some functions will have to go to the bank and then physically be present there and then do some things. It is not the case with blockchain. Blockchain is not open from 9 to 5. It is 24 into 7, 365 days a year. It is functional. So this one shortcoming of traditional system of carrying out transaction is overcome by using blockchains, right? Now, another problem, the biggest problem in, you can say, actually a strength also and a problem also in traditional systems of carrying out transactions or banks is the privacy of the transaction. If I have to have an account in a bank, or for that matter, any person wants to have an account in the bank will ask you all the personal details, your name, your number, phone number, your address, right? Maybe even your Aadhaar card and all this. We know it as KYC norms, know your customer norms. Now, what if I have to carry out a transaction without the knowledge of anyone? I just want myself and you to know that we have transacted. Now, this is impossible in a traditional system of carrying out transactions. Banks will always know what you're doing. And if bank knows, the government knows what you're doing. So there is no privacy in, this kind of systems. You might say, sir, Swiss bank, it is so secure. No one knows who all hold account there. No, the Swiss banks know who is holding accounts there. Someone knows everything about your account, everything about your transactions. And the biggest strength of blockchain is it is completely anonymous. No one knows who's transacting, right? Even if you don't know me who I am, I can still transact with you. You don't know who I am. I don't know who you are. But I still can, transact with you. This is the biggest strength of blockchain. Now, like I say, sir, why do you call it a strength? It can also be a problem. Imagine there are no KYC norms in the bank. It can have a problem, right? But if you compare these two technologies, then this becomes a weakness, and blockchain has a strength over this traditional system that we have in place today. Okay, so because of all these factors, and there's also one more, the frauds. See the number of frauds that happen in banks. No matter how secure they seem, like I said in the beginning, there always have been frauds in banks, be it Indian banks, be it foreign banks, everywhere, any country you go to, there have been some frauds in the banking sector. But on the other hand, blockchain is super duper secure. Blockchain is extremely secure. It has been built up in such a way to ensure there cannot be a fraud. Okay, this is blockchain. So we'll study what blockchain is, because don't go by what we're discussing. You might think, sir, is blockchain only for financial transactions? The answer is yes, and the answer is no as well. It started with financial things, but the applications are way beyond just financial transactions. And that is the reason why blockchain is emerging as a very important technology globally. Okay, so why are we comparing blockchain with banks? Because the first application for which the blockchain came into existence was for recording the transactions of these cryptocurrencies, be it bitcoins, Ethereum. Now, okay, so before I let's let the slides speak. So we'll go to the slides, because I can go on and on. We'll go step by step. Let's see what the slides say, and then we'll try to make it simpler and understand it in a better way. Okay. Now, what is a blockchain? Very important. Now, if you have to, like I said, any layman has to define a blockchain. I don't want to have a very technical definition, which I'll never remember, or which will keep me bothering what it is. No, I don't. I want a very simple definition of blockchain. Now, like I said, it came into existence to keep a record of all the transactions. Now, what helps us keep a transaction? It is an account book, right? To be very, put it in a very layman's language, we call it an account book, wherein we put in all the credit and debit transactions. If I try to be more specific, in commerce, we call it as a ledger, right? So in Marathi, ते काय आहे तर हिशोबाची वही आहे. So blockchain is a ledger. Blockchain acts as an account book for recording transactions of Bitcoin. So it is a distributed ledger, or it is a digitally distributed ledger. Very important 3 words to know. Blockchain is a digitally distributed ledger. Now, what is digitally distributed ledger? This is, again, let's try to understand this. Okay, a blockchain is a digitally distributed database or a ledger that is shared amongst all the nodes. Very important, I'll come back to this, of a computer network. As a database, blockchain stores information electronically in a digital format. Now, why did I call it a digitally distributed ledger? I call it digital because it saves information digitally. Simple. Why is it distributed? Why is it a distributed ledger or a database? Because imagine having an Excel sheet or a Google document. Now, if I give you access to my Google document, what happens is I can access the document from my device. I can make all the changes. I can make I can edit the matter there. And you can access the same document, the edited document, right? So it is real time. I edit here, it gets saved to everywhere, all the people whom I have shared this with. So this is the concept of distribution. Now, blockchain is a distributed database, means it is shared amongst all the nodes in a network. Now, blockchain is not about me. Blockchain will have thousands and lakhs of nodes. What is the node? Different kinds of digital devices which are connected to this blockchain or over which this blockchain is shared are known as nodes, right? So, what is blockchain? So, divide these words and try to understand. Blockchain is a digitally distributed ledger. Now, you know all the three words. What is digital, what is distributed, and what is a ledger? Now, this becomes simple. Blockchain is a digitally distributed ledger, right, that is shared among the nodes of a computer network. As a database, blockchain shares information electronically in a digital format. Now, all the three important words that I used in defining blockchain are clear to you. Why is it digital? Why is it distributed? And why is it a ledger? So, simply putting it very simply, blockchain is a digitally distributed ledger, right? Period. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay, let's go. Blockchain is a type of a shared database that differs from a typical database. See, it is a shared database, and it differs from a typical database. How does it differ? It differs in a way that it stores information in the blocks that are linked together via cryptography. Now, how do you share information in a ledger? It is, we have tables and rows, columns, but in blockchain, you store information in a block. Okay, you store information in a block. I'll draw the block. I'll, discuss the working of blockchain, but let's first understand the very basics of blockchain. Okay. As the new data comes in, it is entered into a fresh block. Every block will have a capacity of how much information can be stored in that block. And if the new entries come in, new transaction is executed, it is entered into a fresh block. Because every block has some amount of memory. How much of data can be stored is limited. So every new transaction, every new information gets stored into a new block. Okay, once the block is filled with data, it is chained into the previous block. This is important. Why do we call it a chain? It is a chain of blocks. The information is stored in a block. These blocks get chained together, so it is a blockchain. Simple, right? So chained into the previous block, which makes the data chained together in a chronological order. The order is also chronological. It is not stored haphazardly. It is in a chronological order. Okay. Now, different types of information can be stored. I'll not go to this point for now because when we see the applications of blockchain, I'll get back to this point. Okay. Now, let's focus on understanding blockchain. Okay. Decentralized blockchains are immutable. Why is blockchain so important? Right? Blockchains are immutable. Once you have made something, some entries, it cannot be changed at any cost. So they are immutable, which means that the data entered is irreversible. Data entered is irreversible. Tell me one thing. If you enter data in a ledger, can it be reversed? Yes. Can there be some, changes made to the statement? Yes. Digitally, yes. But in a blockchain, blockchains are immutable, which means any data entered in a block is irreversible at any cost. You cannot change it, right? For Bitcoin, this means that the transactions are permanently recorded and viewable to anyone. All the Bitcoin transactions are recorded forever. They are immutable, they are irreversible, they cannot be changed, and they are also viewable to all the nodes. Nodes means all the devices within the network to whom the blockchain is broadcasted can see this transaction happen. It is because they'll be the ones who will be verifying the transaction. Right? So, this is how a blockchain is. Now, how did blockchain develop? How did blockchain develop? Was it in 2009? that the blockchain was invented? No. Blockchain was first discussed in 1991 by two physicists or scientists known as Stuart Haber and Scott Stornetta. Right? It was discussed for the first time in 1991. But it never was, applied. It was in 2008 for the first time when an anonymous person named Satoshi Nakamoto invented this bitcoins. And he put to use this technology of blockchain for the first time to record transactions for this bitcoin, because bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. And what is a cryptocurrency? No one is controlling bitcoin. Right? There is no central authority which controls bitcoin. And then there should be a ledger wherein these transactions are recorded. And so Satoshi Nakamoto, now we just know the name, we don't know who this person is. He, for the first time, put this technology of blockchain to use in recording the transactions of bitcoins or cryptocurrencies. So, though it was first outlined in 1991 by Stuart Haber and Scott Stornetta, it was in 2009 when Satoshi Nakamoto put it to use for the first time. He put it to use as a ledger to record transactions of bitcoins. Okay? Yes, in January 2009, blockchain had its first real-world application, because it was just outlined as a concept. But for the first time in 2009, we had a real-world application of blockchain. And who was the person? It was Satoshi Nakamoto who put it to use, right? This person, 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto gave the technology an established model and a planned application. Okay. And this is the reason why we discussed a traditional system in the form of banks and also the bitcoins. Why did we compare banks with bitcoins? Because the first application of blockchain was to record transactions or act as a ledger for transactions of cryptocurrencies, especially for Bitcoin. Okay. Now, the first blockchain and cryptocurrency officially launched in 2009, beginning the path of blockchain's impact across the tech sphere. Now, this is where people across the globe started realizing what blockchain can be, or what wide applications blockchain can have. Once we start studying the applications, you also will be you'll be for a shock that this also can be the application of blockchain. Okay, though it was intended or outlined for acting as a ledger for recording transactions, but we have various other applications of blockchain. Okay. Now, the key thing to understand here is that Bitcoin merely uses blockchain as a means to transparently record a ledger of payment. That's what I've been saying. It is just a means. Many people confuse blockchain with bitcoins. Now, bitcoins and blockchains are two different things. Bitcoin is a currency. Blockchain is a ledger. Right? Bitcoin is not blockchain, or blockchain is not Bitcoin. So Bitcoins merely use blockchain as a means to transparently record a ledger, or keep a record of all the transactions of the Bitcoin. Right? But blockchain can, in theory, be used to immutably record any number of data points. It does not only act as a ledger. It can actually record various data points, like what? Like contracts, records of lands, votes in an election. Imagine this. Even votes in the election can be recorded. Then product inventories, state identification, government repositories. Then you have, and much more, like supply chain management, international trade, businesses, and it goes on and on. So many applications. Right. So it is not only for recording transactions of Bitcoin, but it goes way beyond what actually it was intended for. Okay. Now, how does a blockchain work? very important. Okay, before I go to the slide, let's try to understand this on the board. Okay, like I said, every block we record the information in a block. Now every block has a capacity of how much information it can store. The first block in a blockchain is known as a Genesis block. This is known as Genesis block. Okay. Once this is full, entries are put into another block, right? This block. If once this is full, the entries are put into another block, and these blocks are connected to each other. Now, because these blocks form a chain, it is known as a blockchain, right? Because this forms a chain, and this can go into lakhs and lakhs of blocks. So this is blockchain. The first block of the chain is known as a Genesis block. Now you'd wonder, what's so special about this? Why is it immutable? Why is it irreversible? Why is it so secure? There are various mechanisms that have been put to use to make blockchain what it is. And we are exactly going to try and understand how this works, or why is it so demanded or discussed technology globally. Okay. Maybe it's time for us, even if we start in this lecture, we will not be able to completely understand its working. So we stop here for today, and in the next lecture we again start by from here, how does a blockchain work. Okay, thank you and have a nice day.